All right, Joe, not Jim, continuing on with our guided workflow series on an install. We first video talked about options of getting things started in our project. Second one did an overview about what probes are required and whether or not we're going to do unlock now or later. We've chosen to unlock our premier features later, so we're going to continue down the line of doing our indoor measurements and grabbing all our information about our profile and deploying our probes. Lots of things here are buttons, and it may not be clear because this is actually a button. So we're going to start with, we're inside, turn the power off. Has the indoor power been turned off? Yes, it has. And we go to the next button. It's not all that rudimentary. There are things like this where we're actually able to put stuff together. Notice at the top, it's asking you to make sure that you go through each one of the sections. Sometimes you can skip ahead, and if you can't, we're going to let you know, no, you need to complete something else before that. So as we go through, we're jumping through each one of those. So the geolocate name, once I've got something done, there'll be a green check mark next to it. Once I got all the green check marks, then at the bottom, I get my next button. You cannot just jump outdoors until you complete everything indoors. It doesn't take a lot. So we're starting with where am I? So I'm at this job site. If that's not the correct address, you can change it, or you can actually just move the pin to maybe a neighbor, maybe an area where you're on townhomes or multifamily or something. So whatever the address is, make sure that's what's at the top. Hit continue. Customer information, I really want to get the first name of your client and last name. These are going to be on the reports. So I'm just going to enter Joe Med for right now. If I don't know their email or phone number, it's not the end of the world, even though we're trying to get that. One other thing I wanted to point out to you is that under your billing address here as the same, so you may have somebody who's paying for it as a corporation or a company, but in general, most of your clients, wherever your address is, that's probably who you're going to be billing. And there's a button right here that actually allows you to complete both of those. So when you check it or uncheck it, it's actually completing who is responsible for the billing address. That's all now done. Simple. So the next section is deploy the probes. Okay, remember the probe's already on, but I didn't actually deploy them in the house. Okay, so we're going to be deploying 4 probes in the interior. So there's 4 that we're going to do. And if you're not sure what they are, over here on the far left side is a picture. It says, hey, here's the probes you're going to be deploying and reminding you about zeroing the manometers. And you can read at the top here this whole section about what they are, where they go. It's the first time doing this, or a reminder, or newer technicians. It's important to understand when you're doing your placing your manometers for static pressure, the difference between a furnace and the difference between an air handler. And they are quite a difference if you really want to measure accurately. So both of them have the same concept briefly. They're always after the filter, all right? And the furnace is before the coil, right? And the air handler is after the coil. It's all about what's in the box when you take it out and install it. Which one's an accessory, which one's included in the actual system. We're also going to install the supply and return psychrometers or hygrometers. It's a universal concept in here, but we're mostly measure temperature and humidity. And so it's important that the probe is in the supply grill nearest the air handler, right? So it's not in the air handler. It's not in the plenum. It's actually in the system, in the grill. And notice the detail here where you actually have put that probe inside the actual grill. It cannot be on the face for the supply. The return, it can be. You can actually just put that on the return nearest the air handler and do that. I don't recommend a return grill in a basement because you're not getting a really good establishment of the real return temperatures as you would upstairs. So I encourage you to use upstairs as your probe placement. So there's a variety of options for return, but in general, the return grill nearest the air handler is what you're after on the face of the grill. That's upstairs if it has a basement. And you can see that I have them. They're on, all right? So that's one of the first confirmations. The air handler is not on, so I'm not getting any measurements. But I can see that each one of these is doing their job, and I can see that my return wet bulb and my supply wet bulb are being calculated. There's a little calculation icon over there. Otherwise, if I'm using Testo, I get a Testo icon, or if I'm using JB or any of the other probe options that we have. You can mix or match all of these probes. If you've got like, well, I got a little bit of this and a little bit of that, you can use them equally. You don't have to have one brand to do all that. And if you want to learn more about probes, guess what? In our Essentials series in measureQuick on YouTube, learn more about measureQuick. There's a whole thing about how to add your field piece probes, and I'll be doing videos about how to add other probes that are very similar. Notice that I can look over here and see that my external static pressure probes are giving me a slight reading, especially my supply. My manometers, all right, I want to zero them. So our goal is actually, people say, oh, why is that second? It's because we want you to put them in place and make sure they're stable, you're not waving them around, and then zero them out. All right, so that's our goal. This does not zero your probes. Just to clarify, the probes are actually zeroed for a field piece on the device and for a testo that are actually in the app in your toolbox. Okay, so if I did zero them, I hit yes. If they're not sure or want to see what to do, you can click on the picture that's over here, or in the zero manometers, it says show me how. And there's a quick picture of how to zero the field piece and the testo in the probe manager, the toolbox. Okay, next is the filter information. And sometimes you're wondering, hey, I entered some of that stuff, but I didn't get rid of my little red X over here. So there is a nice little icon over here that's telling you what it is that's required and what is recommended. So required is the filter size. That's the only thing that's required for this section. So I can now see that what's required is here. I dismiss it. So when I go to my filter information, it's right here in bold as to what's required. So you must enter the size. We use the size to do filter face velocity. That's part of our vital score. And so if you have too small of a filter, not a depth, but the actual surface size is what we're calculating. So I need to enter some information here. So we're going to go with a 20 by 25. And there's 25, and hopefully we're past the 1-inch filter now, so maybe we got a 2-inch. That's what's required. Some other things that are great to do, it's an install, so let's actually just select right here today's date, so it's now installed, and let's select the type of filter that we're going to be installing. So MERV 8, MERV 6, MERV 11, we'll just go with the minimum MERV 8. I'm hoping that you're choosing something higher, but MERV 8 is a great minimum. Other things to address here is whether or not you can take a photo now, or you'll do that with your photo section. Okay, so I'm going to take a photo, and I entered a couple of photos real quick. So I have the photo, the filter slot, and the filter itself. It's a great thing to make sure you're keeping track of what's there and the condition that it is. I also put my initials on the filter so I can say that I know I installed that. Some other things as part of this page, which is really important to understand, is down below I can actually add another filter. So you may have two small filters, which will actually pass your filter face velocity. You may have multiple returns. There's a variety of things that are here. So you kind of create your own system by either adding a return, add a filter to it, and vice versa. So making sure you understand what's on this page. Okay, so the next one is enter our installation info. You can skip this, but if it's an install, it's really important that you acknowledge what's here. And if for some reason you felt that all these were fine, that's okay, but they are excessive or longer links, we actually are going to calculate the conditions that you have here. So line set links, line set location, determining if it's in an attic or underground or basement. Its temperature may also help determine your impact. The line set feet, equivalent length, diameter, all that information is all built in here. You can just do quick drop downs. The other ones we have is actually your ducts. The reason we're asking about the location of your ducts is because we're trying to determine built-in airflow measurements in measureQuick. And if we know the temperature difference in the return and supply, then we actually have a better chance of calculating that and calculating any potential return duct leakage. So there's a difference between whether it's in the basement or the attic in terms of, again, how much of it's exposed. Crawl space, garage, or outdoors, any of those are actually part of our calculations to determine your best CFM that we're able to do internally. And it's very accurate in terms of what you're trying to confirm as long as you give us the right information. The R value will also make a big difference as to what's happening for your type of system. The other one, if you're using rooftop units or others, you have belts that you're trying to keep track of. Again, if you're going to save this information, you're going to go ahead and unlock it. All this stays with the system, and every time you come back, you can see it or confirm it or update it if needed, but otherwise it's already done. Okay, so the last one is to do photo documentation. You can skip it, but I encourage you that you really want to document as best you can. What with my install or for a service, you're also doing the same thing. Okay, so I'm going to click on photo documentation. I'm not going to skip it, so as I click on it. So in order to make this kind of go quicker as a demo and video, I've pre-populated a few things, and some of these are new and existing photos. So You understand the process. So I try to document the thermostat. If for a new install, I may, while I have it off, take a photo of showing that the back has been filled with some type of thumb gum. I don't have a big hole for my wires. Electrical system is something that if you feel there is something to document that you can, or a picture of the panel as part of your indoor. My air distribution would be showing some of your ductwork or some of the grills that are there. We already took pictures of the filtration system already. Static pressure system where I put my static pressure probes are there. The condensate drain, there's an indoor and outdoor part of that. And most of these are all focused on the indoor. You've not gone outside yet. So these are all my indoor equipment, cooling capacity or cooling electrical efficiency. And I'll show you the best part to where to do equipment models and serial numbers and why those are here. And there's a whole section on outdoor where we try to eliminate the stuff that you need to focus on outdoor versus indoor. So all that is now a focus as to what you're doing for your process. All right. So if I don't like that picture, I can hit delete, or I can view it. And this makes you have nice options in terms of documenting what happened for your install. All these pictures will go into your report that you're also going to generate at the end. Last section here. Enter your air handler or furnace make, model, serial number. So the key here is actually that you're entering the right information and you're able to scan it. So it's really a great feature that we have. It doesn't work on all systems. It works on a lot of them. Okay, so the last step as part of this section is actually to do the air handler or furnace. You must complete the air handler or furnace section. And we want to make sure you're taking pictures of these. You don't have to, but it's highly encouraged. These equipment models and serial numbers stay with this project forever. So when you come back 6 months, 6 years, all these pictures are always there. They're already preloaded as part of that. So we really want you to capture the data plates, any capacitors, any wiring diagrams, fuses, whatever you're trying to do to keep track of what this system looks like and works. So okay, so I'm going to try and take a photo and see if I can't simulate this as part of my demo. So I take a photo, and here's my data plate, and I hit capture and use photo. Our goal is someday to be able to read all that, but currently that is not possible. But I got my photo. The other thing I can also do as part of this air handler and furnace, whichever one I have, is so if I scan down and try and find the QR code, and it will grab all that information automatically. And if I want to do the evaporator, you can also do it. Even the small QR code ones will work well for this. The challenge is sometimes getting your iPad into that area. So I've completed all these. I have all green check marks on all the sides over here, and I'm going to the next. The next is to turn the power on, and now I'm able to see the probe start turning on. I can scroll across or move across the system, so I go to my indoor home button, and I can actually see what kind of readings I'm getting. So here's my temperature split, a little low, but in general, I can see that things are working. I can also scroll over and see my total external static. We're at 0.3. That's a nice low number. And so I can see that things are working. So again, this is the benefit of actually having the split screen open when you're also using your guided workflow, or you can use this for your regular workflow, but this is actually super powerful that I can see what my readings are, and I can press across the buttons to kind of give me an idea about what I'm actually getting from my information. The box here on the indoor measurements, or the box here on the outdoor measurements, is also giving me the same things I had when I looked at my probes information. So I can see right here, what are my probes reading? It's the quickest place to go to see what's going on with my indoor outdoor readings. Again, I'm on the indoor section here, and I click on the box, and that takes me there. Same with the other option is I can do the outdoor and click on this box, and those are my outdoor readings. Clearly my probes are not doing anything because that system is not on yet. Our next one is to profile the system. And again, you can see I have my equipment images up here that stay with it. It's super crucial of all the things that we're trying to enter and do here. Even if you decide you're not going to save the project, it's fundamental that you have an accurate system profile in order for us to give you accurate diagnostics. The other part is to make sure all of your probes are properly placed. And there is a tongue twister there. So all my probes are in the right locations, and I need to make sure my profile is correct. It's not a lot of information here, so don't just open it up and be like, oh, it's already filled out. We pre-populate stuff because it's the most common result that people are using, but it's important that you do that. Including, notice that nominal tonnage is red. It's because we notice a lot of people skipped over that. So your goal is to make sure you're picking your tonnage. We'll just say this is a 2-ton system. Your refrigerant, the year it comes from, your scan. We also added standard efficiency as part of that process. Whether your seer is 13 to 16 or above 16, metering device, All these things are all part of the profile. If you want us, again, to be accurate, we need to know the defaults here. If you're superheat or subcool, these are based on your manufacturer requirements. Make sure you're looking those up and entering accurate information, because it's plus or minus 3, but it depends on what number you've got here. Static is now, there's a new world in static. Since probably I was born, it's probably been 0.5 inches, right? And now we have Bosch systems and other systems that are 0.8. If your profile is actually 0.5 and you're reading a Bosch system at 0.8, it's going to be a fault. We're going to tell you that your static pressure is excessively high and deduct probably, I think, almost 20 points for having an improper static pressure, when it was the correct pressure. It was your profile that actually had failed. There's some other stuff on here that we have other videos that we'll be doing. You don't need to do your heating profile unless you're in heating mode. So right now, this is your thing for your cooling capacity. So this is all of your cooling information. Okay, so for electrical, it is required. You don't have to do it now. You could do it at the end, but that means you're walking back in and out. So if you're in an attic or if you're in a crawl space and you're doing this stuff right now, clearly is the time to do that. So we're asking you to turn your meter on. Okay, I've confirmed that my meter is on. And now I go to my electrical. It has two sections here. So we have eliminated the all electrical at one time. These are now what's happening on the inside. So it does want to know what's your evaporator fan phase. It's a single phase. Nominal voltage is 115, 120. And what type of motor is it? These things also come into play about giving you information if you do have high static. So we'll just say it's a constant airflow. And notice that because I turned it on a second ago, all of my readings are now being captured automatically into the system. So I'm actually using a small air conditioner in the other room, so you may find these are strange readings. But in general, the goal is to show you that, wow, there you go. I don't have to go anywhere else to have the electrical readings come on. If for some reason something's not there, you can actually click on the plus button, and it takes you immediately to the toolbox in case something wasn't already there. So I'm going to capture this right now. So now my indoor electrical is captured. And that's all ready to go. Hit the check mark or continue at the bottom. Other stuff that we've added to this process, and that is to document indoor issues. We'll have a support page that has all of these as downloads as a PDF, so you can actually give these to your technicians so they can understand what's on here. It's impossible to learn these on the job and see what some of these are. So, you know, some of these are not common for an install, but it's universal between some install and service. So there may be some stuff that you had done, or the filter need to get washed, or whatever it was. Drain pan needs a treatment. Some things are just partial installs or full installs. So your goal is to keep track of some of the stuff that's in here. So refrigerant had missing caps, and I now installed those. So that's all there. Those things show up in the report, as well as they also show up in historical data that's kept in the app. So those things are very valuable. Okay, so our power is on. And everything is good. Notice we got all of our green check marks. Again, everything is here. Okay, so that completes the indoor measurements. And the next video will go into the outdoor measurements. Very straightforward. A lot to talk about, very little to do. It moves very quick. So continue with the next video on outdoor measurements.